people that have a near-death experience, that is, in general, the most amazing, influential experience of their life.
So let's talk about that then.
It's sacred to them, yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting. So people say it's sacred to them, you know? What are some of the things, if people go there, they're on death's doorstep and they get to come back, you know, nobody was home, they knocked, they got some information maybe, you know? But what is some of the things that they... What do we have you learned anything about the afterlife, I guess, or that next step? Have you learned anything about that, or do you feel like you've learned anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I am extremely interested in that. After years of doing research and being aware that they were remarkably consistently describing unearthly, heavenly realms, obviously as a researcher, I'm danged interested in that. So in our most recent version of the survey, we've got a lot of questions where I try to drill down on that, try to understand more about that remarkably consistent perspective on what lies beyond death's door. And that's where, Theo, it gets dang interesting.
Ooh, I like
One thing
that.
Talk interesting here.
Yeah,
so
I like dang
what's it like?
too.
Okay, first of all, you have to understand it's radically different from that physical earthly life that we know. It's nothing like a separate, geographically independent...
Yeah, we only have 5 senses, dude.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know how many senses you get probably when you're done here?
Well, more, there's...
At least 12 senses, I bet.
Okay.
Think about all the other senses you could have.
Yeah, the more the merrier, I know. But regarding what I'm consistently seeing based on survey questions and spontaneous comments that they have, the afterlife, again, completely non-physical. Motion's non-physical, communication. They typically have a greatly accelerated consciousness. They often have, amazingly, what they call universal knowledge. It's a sense of knowing everything. It's a bigger picture of knowledge, far more than they could have known in their earthly life.
The one thing you said that was interesting was being able to make a decision maybe to come or to go. So there's some it's almost like, do you want to stay? Do you want to try this new thing, you know? That's interesting. What else?
It's interesting. What's interesting, Theo, is that when they're in that realm, when they're in that beautiful, unearthly realm, feeling love and peace beyond anything they knew on their earthly life, that's not unfamiliar. They often say this is a strong sense of their real home and not their earthly life, and that's one reason they want to stay there. They know their friends, family, and loved ones that they leave behind are going to be okay, that they too will be in that realm when their time comes.
It's that feeling you get too when you hug somebody that you love, I think.
I like that. I like that a lot. And exactly.
That feeling, it's not even about you're happy that it's them, you know?
Yeah.
But it's really not even there's a little bit of sometimes in a moment in a hug where it's not even about them. It's just about this other little space that gets created kind of that just feels absolutely welcoming, you know? You know what I'm talking about, kind of?
Yeah, I love talking about love. So we'll focus on that. But yeah, when you've got a hug and you've got that intense sense of love, you can understand in personal experience the words in the dictionary that it's like a connection, like a unity. And you often can feel that. And because the love described in near-death experience is one of the most common words, you see that in the afterlife described in near-death experiences, one of the most consistent themes, amazingly, is they do feel that, and they use a stronger word, the connection, much more commonly, saying it's a unity, it's a oneness of us and of everyone. It's sort of like the super, if you will, ultra love is what our destiny is going to be in the afterlife.
Oh, yeah.
For example, we had from Canada, we had a bad car accident, and a gentleman was driving with his fiancée. Boom, he fell asleep and hit a tree. Both him and his fiancée had that out-of-body experience, holding hands. I mean, they were fiancés.
Oh, yeah, sweet.
Rose up, and then they were able to see this unearthly, beautiful realm in the distance. There were 4 beings that came up to them. 2 of them went to her, 2 of them went to him, and they separated. They're holding hands. They felt so much peace and love, they described. He wanted to say no, but felt so compellingly. And that's why it was remarkable that he felt so much peace and love that he didn't want to resist it. And so he watched the 2 beings carry his fiancée toward this beautiful, unearthly realm in the distance. And the other 2 beings gently lowered him back down to the car. From way above the car, he saw the front end on fire. And then he went back into his body, and he felt that when he returned to consciousness, his fiancée leaning on his shoulder as she was when he had the accident, and he knew immediately fiancée was dead. She was an empty shell, and that he had left her with those beings above. That's a shared near-death experience.
Really?
And very dramatic. Shared near-death experiences are...
So that's unbelievable.
I mean, out of 4,000, to have maybe about 20. That's how rare they are. And yet they're so dramatic in terms of providing evidence that for those that permanently, irreversibly die, their consciousness continues to live and will eventually be reunited.
What have you garnered from speaking with people who have been close to the afterlife? And what have you garnered from that?
Oh, that's where my research gets amazingly interesting. What I'm seeing is, well, Theo, it's a basic scientific principle that what's real is consistently observed. And that's where it's exciting when you look at the afterlife in near-death experiences, because what's described, now times thousands, is so amazingly consistent. I mean, it's a beautiful, unearthly realm, that strong sense of peace and love, but off the scale, beyond anything they knew in their earthly life. The encounters with deceased loved ones, interactions. By the way, deceased pets are often described in near-death experiences.
Really?
And these are, again, joyous, for animal lovers out there, tremendously good news from near-death experiences.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
hey,
dude.
Theo, you name it, dogs, cats, birds, horses.
Rats?
I've seen, not rats, we don't have any pet. Well, I mean, I haven't heard that, but, certainly
Couple
pets
of them.
are not, it's not at all unusual. And like other deceased humans that they knew, these are joyous reunions and, sort of back to that sharing like they did on Earth, only here they are in the afterlife. So
do they see that they see these people in the afterlife? What do people say? They physically see, they see their father, cousin, or grandparent or something?
Yeah.
They see them in the way that they saw them on Earth?
not necessarily.
Is there any information about that?
Lots.
Like, how do people see people when they have a near-death experience? How do former humans that they knew, or humans that they knew on Earth that are now gone, how do they see them in the NDEs?
Right. They're essentially always picture-perfect health, even if they died of an advanced age or a disfiguring, debilitating accident or injury. When they're encountered in the afterlife, they're essentially always absolutely picture-perfect health. Interestingly, if someone died in an extremely advanced age, they may appear even decades younger.
Yes.
And if they died in very early childhood, amazingly, they may appear in older childhood.
No, really?
And so it seems to be that kind of interplay.
That
usually,
glow up.
Yeah, usually they look pretty much, and they can tell. And another interesting thing, you almost never have people say, "Mary, is that you?" It's an immediate and intense, deep understanding that this is their beloved. They can share from what they had and experienced in their past life. There's a predisposition for genetic relatives, but you can be anything. Obviously, spouses or pretty much friends, loved people. So it again, a beautiful, beautiful part of near-death experiences where you have that joyous reunion. And in fact, even if the earthly life was strained, in the afterlife, that's not an issue anymore. Yeah. There's joyous sharing. There can be sort of like the analogous of interaction, touch. You can't really touch, you're non-physical, but there's certainly a lot of that kind of very close sharing and interaction, a very beautiful, very touching part of near-death experience.
What motivates you to care about this?
I am fascinated by near-death experiences, even after 25 years and 4,000 near-death experiences.
You ever been to Busch Gardens?
Yeah, I have. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome, too, isn't it?
That's true.
But I love all that kind of stuff.
It's fun. Well, near-death experiences, to me, it continues to remind me that there's an afterlife, a wonderful afterlife, and that's for all of us. I'm a physician that treats patients with cancer. These are my patients that have life-threatening events, and I'm involved with them every day. What I know about near-death experiences help me to help them in their journey with their battle with cancer in a way with more courage, more confidence that even if we ultimately don't cure them, that in the end, they're going to have a wonderful afterlife. And as I've told them, you're going to be in a much better place than those left on our earthly life. So I think that's really, certainly something to look forward to.
I hope it, and I believe that too. Because even just living is so, that's what I always say when people are like, I don't believe in an afterlife. I'm like, all right, first of all, what, okay, because here's why. My biggest proof is that we lived at all.
Yeah.
That's at least believe in reincarnation because we already lived.
Yeah.
How you then don't even believe you're here then if you're not even going to believe it's possible. That's ridiculous. Like, I'm doing this right now. You're going to tell me, and I came out of nothing. I don't know where I was.
Yeah.
I got some vague ideas, and I'll sketch some stuff every now and then, but I don't have any real information. But to think this couldn't happen again to me seems asinine. Because you have proof, like you're living in proof. Like, it'd be different if you weren't, but you're freaking living in proof that existence from nothing is possible. Now, I know you came from people when you came from sex, but they eventually, we don't know where they came from,
Yeah, man.
We don't know where life came from. That's the thing.
Sure. No, and absolutely. That's
Sorry to yell at you or anything.
No, this is great. Hey, Theo, this is what I find, among other things, very inspiring about near-death experiences. I mean, here over and over is very powerful evidence that we do have a life after death. Our consciousness goes on. We're not really going, both for us, our friends, our family, our loved ones. When we have that final end of our earthly physical life, there's a much bigger picture, a continuation of consciousness, eternal and infinite, as best I can tell from near-death experiences, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever earthly life gets miserable, difficult, we've all been there, all of us.
Yeah.
And you always have that thought in the back of your mind from near-death experiences, wow, here is the evidence, powerful evidence that we go on.